Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Uncovering the Underground Radio Show, brought to you by Brutal Business Entertainment and First Angel Media. I'm your host, Skippy Ickham, and I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. We do bring you our show each and every Thursday night from 8 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. From 8 to 9, we do an uninterrupted underground music hour, followed by an hour and a half of in-depth interviews and discussions with all kinds of great artists and underground personalities. Our show airs on all online platforms from iTunes and iHeartRadio to Spotify, Deezer, Spreaker, and much, much more. So feel free to listen to us wherever you feel most comfortable, but please know that if you do tune in on Spreaker, whether you use the app or the Spreaker.com webpage, you can sign in and instant message us during our live shows, leave us feedback, ask us questions, or ask our guests questions. So we always, encourage people to interact themselves with the show. We would love to hear from you. Now, this episode specifically tonight is not a live episode. This is a special episode. So this one you can only leave comments, but we'd still love to hear what you have to say. Make sure you do click the like button, share button, and follow button, whatever buttons they give you on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Please do so, because the more you do that, the more that moves us up the podcast community rankings and the more people that find out about the show. We do want to thank our sponsors, Tattooed Scumbag Apparel, and you can check them out at tattooedscumbag.com and use promo code BBE10 for 10% off your overall order. Again, that is BBE10 for 10% off your overall order. They do make everything from beanies, hats, hoodies, t-shirts, sweatpants, socks, and much, much more. And something that, or someone that I support not only when I'm out and about doing my live music shows and wear their gear on stage, but I do wear it around the house often, and often I'm wearing it out and about during my everyday errands. Very good quality clothing, and if you're a tattooed scumbag like me, you're going to love it. So make sure you check them out. Make sure you also check out Legion Artworks, R3 Graphics, Roush Designs, and 5 Milligram Artworks. We want to thank all of them for everything that they do for the show. Now, we are going to jump into a great interview tonight. As I said, this is a pre-recorded episode, so this is a special episode, not our normal live episode. But we are very excited to announce the partnership with First Angel Media, as you heard us say at the beginning of this episode. And we have a lot of great things to come, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. And let's get started. All right, guys, so as I told you, we do have a special episode tonight, and tonight we are bringing on Jana Lee Mecheca, who is the owner and founder of First Angel Media, which is a media company here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, doing very, very big things, and we are very excited to talk to her about how she got started, more about the company itself, and ultimately, as well, the partnership that we recently established with one another. So, without further ado, let's bring her on the line. Jana, how you doing tonight?
I am doing great. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Got things working here, had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we are up and running, and it's great to be on the air.
Well, it's nice to be on air with you.
Well, thank you. And, certainly impressed with your company, impressed with the things that you've been able to do over the last few years with First Angel Media. And, obviously we're going to talk about that tonight and our partnership, but I'm glad to be able to say we can work side by side now and do some great things. But why don't you tell the fans, ultimately how you got started with wanting to get into the media side, what led you into not only that, but starting your own company, and kind of a breakdown of what led you to where you are right now within the media side.
Well, we're going to start a little bit on the sad side, because the truth of the matter is I never would have gotten into this if I hadn't lost my husband, Nick Macheca, in 2012. It was actually after trying to get myself out of the, depressive funk of that I wanted to get back out into music. I hadn't gone to see a live show in, I couldn't even tell you how many years at that point. And our lives were wrapped up in music. He had actually been in a band previous to meeting me. I had always had a ton of friends in the music scene in my area. And whenever it came time for me to try to get out in the world a little bit more, the music scene in my specific area had dried up. And my friends kept telling me, Pittsburgh has a great music scene, this, that, the other thing. I started to kind of get into going to shows, and I fell in love with it, really. I fell in love with the scene up there. It is vibrant. It is beautiful, and it's unique. And then I started to see that the one thing it was lacking was an all-encompassing media company. I didn't really know exactly that it would become this. I mean, I hoped that it would, but I started off just sharing events that I found online. I created a page. June 2016 was whenever it went live on Facebook. I just shared events that I found, started to get out there, meet bands, cover bands, bands like now there's Slide. There was, let's see here, oh my gosh, so many, Dying Breed, just a ton of cover bands, and then I started to get into more original bands. And whenever I met the band Winter's Descent, I met their vocalist and his wife and one of their best friends, Jason. And he was in he still is in Silence Follows. And from there, I started to explore the rock and metal side of the scene. The first show that I met them at has become Crucible Project Night, and they have gone off on their own with Twist of Fate Productions. And we've all kind of grown up side by side, and I started to get more into the rock and metal, but not just the regular rock. I started to see there's just so many bands out there.
There are certainly a lot of bands in the scene, for sure.
Yeah, I think that the last that we tried to count, it was over 600 in Pittsburgh alone.
Wow.
Yeah. But so I started doing, Facebook had allowed us to share the events and blurbs to the band's pages and everything, and then they took that away from us because of algorithms, and so I started to find out what an algorithm was. Began to write reviews on the Facebook page, realized that it was not the best format for a professional review. I hooked up with Bill Damiano of Build the Scene and AK Music Podcast. And he helped me out. He's now my webmaster. He got me up and running with a website, and it just kept growing. I got into photography specifically for the scene. It has become the second love of my life. And it's kind of all snowballed from there. The last year and a half, I have had other people join me. And there are now 20 of us, which is a crazy number.
It certainly is. I mean, that's a nice size team that you've built, certainly.
It is. And between all of us, we have professional photography. We have, and it's affordable. Professional photography is what we like to let people know, because we're not charging $300-400, for a band. And we try to strike a balance between what the bands can afford and what we can do for them. We do reviews of all kinds. We have weekly features for music videos, Find Your Muse. We have a ton going on, and even more going on in 2020, including partnering up with you in some aspects.
Absolutely. It looks like it's going to be a really good year in 2020. And as you said, I mean, it is funny because you when you start getting into something like this and building a team and building kind of a vision, you always look at the long run and think, okay, this is where I would like to take it, but you focus more on the short game, of these are the steps I need to take to even really get it lifted off the ground. And as it builds and builds, you eventually reach a point that, this is where I wanted to be, but also I couldn't imagine it would actually get this far. So it's funny, you set yourself wanting to get that far, but when you get there, it's almost surreal that you got there, and then it's building up to the next level and the next step up from there. So, I think you certainly have carved hell of a path out for yourself so far, and I think this is just the beginning, and you've built together, quite a name in a team. And real quick side story, not to sidetrack myself here, but you mentioned Winter's Descent. Funny side story on those guys is I don't even know what time period it was now. It might have been a couple years ago or so. They had lost their one guitar player, I believe, and they had put up an ad that they were looking for another guitar player, in which I responded to. And they shot me down. Didn't even give me a chance. And I think it's only because of the fact that I think they had found someone. They didn't say that. They just said, you know what, at this time we're not looking to try anybody else out. Thank you, though, for your time. And I was like, are you sure? I was like, maybe you should try me out. I'm a pretty accomplished guitar player. And they're like, but no thank you. And I'm like, okay, no problem. And then I started seeing them playing out again shortly afterwards. So no shade on them by any means, but it was funny, just as you mentioned them. I was actually going to try out for those guys. I really like their sound.
That they are amazing, and actually they're currently in studio. And I'll bet you that they had just found a guitar player. I bet. They have had some lineup changes over the years. I've known them now for about 3.5 years. I have become their photographer, and they're amazing guys. And the snippets of what I've gotten to hear in the studio that they're in currently, if you happen to know who Big Atlantic is.
I've heard the name. I haven't heard their music.
Okay. Lee Caruso Jr. is also a friend of mine, and he's the vocalist and guitarist of Big Atlantic. He's producing them.
Okay.
Through Riggs Records. And it's the same, like it's still them, but I really feel that whenever people hear how powerful the music is, they're gonna be a little shocked. I really do.
Well, it's them,
I'm
but
looking
evolved.
forward to this release.
Absolutely.
They have.
Well, that's important. If you're not evolving,
people.
then, what's the point if you're not evolving? And I think that, from what I heard from them originally, during the time period that I was going to try out for them, and honestly, I couldn't tell you if that was a year ago or 3 years ago. I don't know. Time just blurs anymore. But I remember I was going to try out for them at one point, and I liked their music at that time, and it was even a little older than that. I think the music that I was checking out from them was like a year old at that time. So I think since then, obviously, they would have evolved and tightened up, especially with a new guitar player, and being in a studio, being produced by someone different than they worked with in the past will help change the sound a little bit, but also help evolve the sound a little bit. So I'm very interested in hearing what the new sound of Winter Descent will be. Yeah,
I think that everybody is going to be very impressed by this. I got to be in studio to do a shoot with them, and from what I heard, I had to kind of, wow, that's you.
Well, that's good. That's a good reaction. Now, that's whenever you have someone that's around you all the time being that shocked, you know that you're doing something right.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. One of the aspects that I love about my job is whenever I get to hear something before anyone else. Whenever I get a taste of what a band's really going to be able to do, that's exciting.
Oh, absolutely. You get that special sneak peek that no one else gets to hear.
Right. I think it's one of the more fun aspects of my job. Not only that, but whenever a band that I just really have heard and I'm blown away by goes out on our site, and I see it get shared and someone says, "Oh my God, I love this," then it excites me because I know that feeling. I know how they're feeling, that amazing, look what I just discovered. Wow, this really resonates with me.
Absolutely. It's great to help people find great new art, whether it be music, whether it be photography, whatever it is. When you show someone something that they love that they didn't know about, it's a good feeling. And that's kind of the point of the show itself here is that I love presenting influential people, great personalities in the underground, great art and great music that people might not otherwise have heard or found. And it's just amazing the amount of fans that are gained through this show just by doing what I love and helping bring, people on the show. So it's always pretty cool to help people discover, new companies and new music. And I think tonight, for anybody that's listening to the show, well, I should say when you listen to the show, because this is a pre-recorded, but when you listen to the show, folks, if you haven't checked out First Angel Media yet, make sure that you search them on Facebook, make sure you search them on Google, follow their website, follow their Facebook page, and support a great company that's doing great things for other artists out there.
Thank you, and I really do appreciate it. And one thing that I love about what you do is you are, through this media, able to really introduce them to the people behind creating the music and everything else that they do. The models, they see this beautiful photo, but you let them know the beautiful person.
Exactly, and I think that speaks volumes.
Yes. I feel that the people behind these amazing forms of art, and I think that's so important, that they're wonderful people. At least, okay, for me, 97% of everybody I've met in any form of art has been a really interesting or amazing person.
Yeah, it's not too often that you find people that are just complete scumbags. I mean, you will. I mean, in life you'll find
Right.
a lot of that. But in music, honestly, most of the time, you have a better chance of finding someone that's a complete sweetheart than you do to someone that's a dirtball. But you're still going to have those out there. But yeah, most of the people you'll come across in the scene are usually very nice, very fun people to interact with, talk to, and become friends with. So, and then like you said, it's great to be able to show the fans and listeners out there who folks are behind their art, because you don't know. When you look at a model's picture, as you said, you don't know what her personality is. You just see simply the art of modeling. And it's interesting because I talked about this on one of the past shows, that music's a little bit different than every other type of art, because you kind of, a lot of times, if you read a book, you don't really necessarily formulate who you think the author is from the book. You're really knowing that it's a story that he wrote, or at least most of the time. And same thing with actors. You watch a movie and you don't automatically think you know who that character is in real life because of the role that they played. But musicians, a lot of times, and I guess I'm speaking more hip-hop than anything, people formulate an idea of who they are. A metal band, not so much. Maybe the singer, because the vocals usually that's who you think about. You're not listening to a band and saying, "Oh, I know what kind of person that guitar player is." It could be the singer, but in rap, it's a lot of times someone will listen to a rap track and they start to formulate, "Okay, I know what kind of person this guy is." And I always found that fun to bring someone like that on the show and introduce them to the listeners out there. And they say, "Oh, wow, I've always listened to this really gritty, dark, hardcore hip-hop artist thinking that this guy's a rugged character of some sort." And then they find out that he's one of the nicest, people they've ever heard, and he's a big sweetheart. And it blows them away. And that's what I like to do, especially for those type of people, because someone's already formulating a plan of who they think they are, and then they find out who they truly are. Now, for others, it's more or less, on the front lines. Okay, you have an actor on there. Who is the guy? I don't know about him. But I always find that fun whenever someone formulates an idea of who they think that person's going to be, and then I completely kind of sideswipe them with who that, person actually is.
Oh, no, I completely agree. Completely.
It's strange how that is, though. I mean, like I said, no, not too many other arts you formulate who that person is. But, I know who that rapper is because he talks some dirty stuff on a song. I know what kind of person he is. And it's like, do you, though? Do you really? So it's always cool to see.
See, I find that metal gets kind of like that too, especially the hardcore types.
Yep, death metal and
And
underground hip hop are the two that really get that formulated opinion off
yeah,
the music.
and yet the funniest thing is, some of the bands that I can think of, Postmortal Possession,
Okay.
Leprosy, even Greywalker. These guys go up there and they give their all, and they're so hard. And those are three very different types of the harder metal.
Absolutely, very different sounds amongst the three of those.
And yet, they're like the sweetest people. I'm so sorry if these guys hear it and they're like, oh, she gave us away. But the truth is, they really are just, it's almost like they get it all out on stage. And they are just the kindest people. You're able to sit down, talk life and family with them. They're quiet, well-spoken people. And everyone seems to think that, they'd be these raging, angry people, and they're just not. They're really wonderful.
They really are, and I mean, it's funny. I mean, like I said, they oftentimes break the mold of what you think they would be, and it's just some reason there's a stigma on death metal, in underground hip hop, the more extreme styles of music. For some reason people formulate an idea off of. Now, shout out to Leprosy, and shout out to all those guys, but Leprosy especially, because I was playing shows with Leprosy in 2007 was the first time I played a show with them. So that's 13 years ago. I played a show with them, and at that time they had already been around for quite some time. So these guys have been playing in the Pennsylvania scene for a very, very long time, and that's very hard to do. So much love to them for being able to keep this going all these years.
I do believe, if I'm right, they celebrated their 30th anniversary.
That would probably sound about right.
2019.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because I know that when we played with them, we were young bucks. I mean, we came out and played a show with them at it was in Penn Hills. It was a little hole in the wall, the White Owl or something like that. I don't remember. It's right next to the police station. I don't think it exists anymore. The White Hawk. It was called the White Hawk, and it was a very interesting.
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, we played there. I don't think it exists anymore. I'll have to look that up. And we played with Leprosy that night, and they came up and talked to us, and they were like, "Oh, you guys are really good for being so young." And then we heard them, and we were thinking, like, "You guys are really good for being so old." And then they were telling us that, well, we've been around for, at that time, I know it was at least 10, 15 years that they had told us at that point that they were a band, and here it is, roughly 13 years later, so that would make sense that it's somewhere around 30 years.
Yeah, it is amazing, but it also speaks to the talent.
It does, because, I mean, it's hard, not just talent of your instrument and craft, but talent to stay connected with your guys, to stay focused on the prize of writing the music, because as you said, a lot of bands go through a lot of member changes, a lot of bands disband because they can't stay together. It is hard to take 4, 5, 6 guys, put them together on a stage, and day after day, night after night, year after year, be able to stay friends, stay on the same visual spectrum of one another, because people grow apart. You start to hate one another. I've lived it. I've been there, and it's always kudos to anybody that can stay a band and stay focused for that long.
Very, very. I mean, I'm not a musician, but being on my side of things and hearing the stories about bands breaking up, reforming, having to switch out members, and sometimes even as much as you love someone, the person will get another job or life takes them in another path, and they have no choice but to walk away to have their own life. And so many things can cause a band to go different directions.
Agreed.
So to stay relevant for 30 years, that's just amazing.
Well, it's amazing how
I mean,
often they play too, because it's not like, okay, they've been around for 30 years, they're older, and they play a couple times here. No, these guys are playing constantly, like almost every other weekend. I'm seeing show flyers of these guys still playing, so that's just really amazing.
Absolutely. And I mean, there are some bands that will only play here and there. Some bands that only come out of kind of semi-retirement for benefits. And then you'll have bands like Reign of Z. These guys, I don't think that they have any less than 6 shows a month. I may be wrong on that, and it's not just in the Pittsburgh area. It's literally everywhere. I think they were just in Indiana and Michigan. They're all over the place. And whenever you see bands like that, man, it's amazing. Whenever you see the bands that are, quote unquote, local, and yet they're not. They're out there busting their butt. Local's almost a bad word to use for a band like that.
We refer to them as local. Yeah, we refer to them as local because we're from here. But yeah, I mean, if someone in Indiana seeing them they're not going to call them a local band. They're going to say, hey, I seen this touring band from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So it is funny how that works. But I mean, it's great to see these bands pushing it and working, as hard as they are to get their names out there, because that's how you got to do it. You got to hit, put the feet to the street. So especially like you just mentioned, Indiana, great state to play in. I've played in Indiana before a couple times now and love it. Great scene there. There's nothing in Indiana, so I mean, it's probably why the shows are so good. But it is a fun place to play, and it's so close to everything else. It's within a hop, skip, and a jump of Ohio and Michigan and Kentucky. So there's a lot of really good scenes and cities all around there, depending upon what part of Indiana you're in. So it's great to hear that they're getting over that way, because there's a lot of lovers of metal over there. So I think Reign of Z could do very well in that area.
Well, I'll tell you what, there is a music festival that happens annually in Indiana, and it is called Rise of the Loser.
Okay.
If you've never heard of Losing September, seriously, get on that train. They actually just came back from Japan.
Yeah, I have not yet. I'll have to check it out.
They are, oh my gosh, they are amazing. And they run a 2-day festival in Indiana at the Water Bowl. And I was invited down to cover it this last year. And oh my God, they had Saul headlining.
Okay.
They had, let's see here, September Morning. They Reign of Z and Winter's Descent played. Losing September obviously played. There is another band, and these guys are coming actually to Pittsburgh on the 11th. I'm so excited about it. Heartsick. They're a metal band out of Michigan.
I've seen that flyer or that events page.
If you can make it, you really ought to. This guy spends as much time in the air as he does on the stage. The energy there is amazing, but what really amazes me is with all of that movement, vocals are on point the entire time.
That's impressive. I mean, it's impressive to be able to move that much during the stage anyway, because I'll tell you what, it tires you out quick, especially if you have cannon lights on you, because they're hot. They make you sweat. They make you overheat. So if you're jumping around the entire time and performing and able still to hit your vocals and do them justice, that is a very, impressive thing.
And anyone on Facebook, anyone that wants to search for them, like we just put out their stuff, if you want to see what we do with our Find Your Muse features that go out every Friday, and you want to check them out, type in your little Facebook search bar, First Angel Media, Heartsick, and you're either going to find the flyer for their show coming up, or you're going to find their music video. And I think you'll agree with me. If you like metal, these guys are just amazing. They're going to be at Cativo. If this will be out by the 11th, then I need to let people know they'll be at Cativo on the 11th. I'll be there. Come say hi, see these guys. And they're going to be playing with Grey Walker. And so this is going to be an insane show.
Oh,
Really.
sounds like it would be. I mean, Grey Walker themselves, for anybody who hasn't checked them out yet, Grey Walker is an amazing Pittsburgh metal band. I'm very impressed by those guys, not only as a whole, but obviously their singer Sykes is a very impressive artist who I've had, the pleasure of performing with many times over the years in many different ventures that he's had, both as his rap persona Sykes, Grey Walker, his old band, I can't think of the name right now. He was in a death metal band at one point in time that in my opinion was the best death metal band to ever come from Pittsburgh. And I cannot think of their name right now. They were so extreme. And then he was in another band prior to that I can't think of their name either, though I used to play with way back in the day. I remember playing with him actually at the Roundhouse, which was a pizza place in Natrona Heights that threw hardcore shows. And it would be the awesomest thing in the world. You'd walk in to get your pie, and you'd see like 50, 60 kids moshing and doing hardcore dancing in the middle of the floor while making pizzas. And it was just like the weirdest little venue. Unfortunately,
but that's cool.
It was very cool. And they got very good crowds, had very good shows. But like most places, got shut down due to people being stupid. In the parking lot, you'd have teenagers drinking openly out of bottles and drinking beer, smoking. So they end up shutting it. The entire business got shut down, not just the shows.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but it was an awesome little venue. We talked about this on a recent show with Witch Hunt, which is another up-and-coming Pittsburgh band. They're very new to the scene. They're a younger group, and they've only released 2 songs so far. They're about to play their first show as a group in March, and I have high expectations for these guys. The 2 songs that they've released already are phenomenal. And the one guy was saying he's from Natrona Heights and played at Scumbags, which was a venue that the guy that threw shows at the Roundhouse would also throw at Scumbags. So it kind of brings us full circle there. But it was an awesome venue. It's a shame it got shut down. I think they were the home of like the 47 cut pizza. This thing was massive. Wow. It came in a box that like wouldn't fit in your car. And
oh my God.
It was just a really fun place and a really good chapter of history in the hardcore scene for me, at least. So but I played with Sykes there at one of the nights with another band that he was with at one point in time. So he's certainly been in some great projects over the years.
Honestly, I love the man. Like, I don't get to hang out with him or talk to him as much as I would enjoy. I didn't know him very well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Twist of Fate is now a production company, Jerry and Julia Mulligan. And they and Jason Kazura have, he's going to kill me if I mess up his last name, by the way. I'm just going to say that.
We're going to go with it.
We all have messed up last names. But they still do the Crucible Project nights, and I cover that religiously every month. It's just, no matter what, it's the show that I make sure it gets covered because I really believe in it. It is a very professional metal show in Pittsburgh, and it's always packed. The payment's always fair. The venue is always a wonderful place to be at the Fun House. And so I do sometimes artistic flyers for them. Well, I provide the images, and normally Jason does the flyers. So Julia had this one idea for a very specific graveyard shoot involving a model that looked just like an angel there. And it happened to be Sykes' girlfriend, Stacy. And so I kind of got to talk to him a little bit there. And I always kind of check up on the people, not like, I'm not stalking anyone, I swear. But I look into what they do because, it's just nice to know who these people are.
Yeah, you want to find out what it is that they're a part of and what they create.
And to see everything he's a part of, I mean, I put his video podcast up we've decided that Sunday mornings people tend to really like to sit back and watch him do his thing. So, Sunday mornings you can look for one of them and then the link to the others. Kind of like what I'll be doing with you.
Absolutely.
Actually. Since you will be showing up on First Angel Media sites as well. And it's so nice. He brings everybody on. He's kind of like the metal version of you.
He is, yeah. He does something very similar, and it's mainly geared towards the metal side, and it's an interesting show, and he does very well with it.
And between the two of you, listening to things like that, people can really find out so much more about the scene, so much more about what's out there, because really what any of us do only taps into a portion of it.
Agreed.
And I wish that there was a way to you can't list all the bands. I've tried. I really have.
Yeah, there's no way of capturing them all.
It's no way. And they keep showing up, and then some of them, like we were saying before, they change lineups, they break up for a while, but various things happen. I just wish that there was a way to just really put them all right there in front of every music lover and say, here, just pick. Because you're going to enjoy 3/4 of these. And some of it may not be your taste, but it'll be someone else's.
And that's it. It's someone's taste in general. It might not be. You might listen to 3 shows and only like one of the 3 guests, but someone's going to like the other 2 that you didn't. There's always going to be people who have certain tastes and things that they look for in a group that they like. And that's what's fun with the scene and presenting different artists and things to people, is there's always someone out there that's really going to pick up and resonate with that artist. Yeah. And I think, what's really nice about both Sykes and my show is that, there's a lot of people out there that do radio shows. There's a lot of different people out there that do interviews, on radio and things like that. The problem is a lot of times they might be associated with the scene, but a lot of times they're not musicians themselves, or they're not very versed in the things that they're interviewing on. There's a couple of radio stations off the top of my head that the guys do a lot of interviews, but they themselves are not musicians and involved in the scene. Whereas Sykes and myself have been around for quite a while, been involved in a lot of different things in both metal and rap, interesting enough. And he gives us more of a view on the people that we interview and knowing how to relate to them and talk to them, because we've lived it, we've done it, and we've been versed in that side. So just very interesting to hear those type of conversations and shows. I think it brings more out of the interviewee than a normal show, because it makes them feel a little bit more at home and know that they're talking with someone that understands, rather than a guy who has no idea about the scene and he's just asking questions for his paper or for this and that.
Yeah, I can understand that. At First Angel, we are kind of comprised of either hardcore music lovers, the kind that can pretty much list off the people who have been in this band before. They can give their entire history, or musicians. We're able to work together to pull the most out of people, because like you said, it's not just kind of sitting there with a list of absolute questions that must be answered, but more of we have an idea of what your journey's been, and we want to really tell the story as we're letting people know about your music.
Agreed, and you guys do well with that. I mean, your team is everywhere. I mean, I've seen them at shows, both doing coverage and photos, or just there as fans over the years. A lot of the people that you're working with, and that's important too, so that if you're not a musician, you at least understand everything about that, or if you are, you do as well. But sometimes you see people that are there for media of some sort that they don't listen to the music, they don't have any idea who they're interviewing. They show up and say, okay, these are the people I'm supposed to find tonight and interview. These are the people I need answers from. And it's so unpersonalized, and you can tell that in the interview if you're listening, and it resonates. And that's where I think that your company, my company, everything that we're doing is a little bit different than most. And I think it brings that personal feel, and I think that's why it gets a lot more traction and buzz than most, because it's more personable to the reader and the listener.
I really feel that writing or photography, or even videography, because we do have a videographer, whenever it comes down to it, if you don't enjoy it, it's going to show. I can tell in a picture whenever someone has covered a show and they're a fan of that music versus whenever someone has covered a show and it was just an assignment. Because
Absolutely.
You feel it. One of the things in our company is that if a writer doesn't resonate with the music, we pass it on to someone else who will. Because we don't want it to be that it should never come across as dry. It should come across as a fan of the music has written it, or a fan of the music has covered it in some way. Because really, otherwise it just kind of comes off reading like a term paper.
Exactly. No one wants to read a term paper. So if I start to say, oh, they did an interview with this band I liked, and I start to read it, and I'm like, man, this interview sucks. You're not going to finish reading it, and you're not going to care. But or it might even be a band you didn't know about, but you say, hey, I'll check this out, and then you start to read it. You not only lose interest in the article, but you might lose interest in the band, and it almost paints the band in a bad light.
Right.
And that's where you got to kind of steer clear of that. But when you have someone who has a passion for the music and the scene, and they're putting out articles and interviews and radio with a passion of it, then you are more inept to want to listen to it, to read it, and it makes you care about who that artist is that's being interviewed. So, kudos to you and your team for everything you do. You guys have put out a lot of great articles, a lot of great reviews, and one of which that I wanted to talk about is your category that you guys do, which is Find Your Muse. Why don't you tell, I should say music, but why don't you tell, the listeners out there what that is and what that is about, how you came to, starting to do that?
So there should be two things that I point out. We have two mottos in the company, and the first one is Music Unites Souls Everywhere. So you're going to find a lot of stuff about Muse, because it's our little, what is that, an anagram? Whenever you've taken the
I think that's the word for it,
initials, I believe that's it. So Music Unites Souls Everywhere is our Muse. And we also believe music heals. So everybody needs to find their muse. So I've actually secured the hashtags for Muse and Find Your Muse. Music Unites Souls Everywhere and Find Your Muse. Actually, you can secure hashtags for a company. And I did, because I believe in those so much. So what we do is Find Your Muse. Anything with that hashtag is, we believe it will help you to find the kind of music that resonates with you. And what we do with the Find Your Muse Video of the Week category on Fridays is we will bring you a new artist each Friday, a video of theirs. Sometimes they're brand new releases. Sometimes we're able to coordinate with the artist, so it has just dropped. And sometimes it's a band that maybe nobody's really heard of that has 90 likes, but they did their all, and they've given a well-produced music video. You won't find, my girlfriend recorded this while we were live on stage kind of stuff. And we tell you about the band. We link you to the band. In the article itself on the website, we may link you to their events, their website, everything else. But one way or another, whenever you find that, you're able to watch right then and there what this band is capable of. Currently, we have the crowning running this week, and it goes Friday to Friday. So every Friday is a new artist. Now, the crowning is one of those little jewels that I was talking about that I get to hear before anybody else.
Okay.
I was contacted by Micah Martin in 2016, the summer of 2016. He's like, hi, when I introduced myself, we started talking, and he said, well, we just got our masters back on these songs. We've just become a band. And before we did anything, we went into the studio, would you mind listening? And it was one of those few moments whenever I was only a few seconds into the song, but just what I heard, I stopped the recording. I was just on my phone, listening to it. And I went and I got my headphones because I did not want to listen to this in any way but surrounded by it. And I have watched these guys go from a just formed band. They're now 23,000 likes. This is like 2 years later. They're 3 years later, actually. So they are now at like 23,000 likes, touring all over the place, playing everywhere, newly released music coming out. I mean, I've watched them just skyrocket.
It's an amazing thing to get to see that and watch, a band go from, or even an artist go from being that tadpole to the full-blown bullfrog, and it's always interesting. And there's been a few over time that I know I've certainly watched that I was like, I remember when this person or this band had 400 followers or 400 likes. Right. I'm like, now you check on them and they have 100,000, and you're like, holy hell, like it just took off for this person. What a great feeling to know that you were there in the beginning listening to them. And got to see the growth.
I fully expect for them to hit national status.
Good, I hope they do.
I really do.
If they're deserving of it, I hope they get it.
And they're wonderful folks. So they've got the full package, as far as I'm concerned, at least. And their music is not metal. It's more, how can I put this? It's more rock-ish, but they kind of don't exactly follow a pattern.
That's okay. Usually the best ones don't. They just do their own thing and they make their own sound.
That is exactly what they do. That really is. And they do a 5 Acres Fest every year. And it's a very laid-back music festival. I mean, seeing how they've really worked for their own music scene, too, just like Losing September in Indiana, I love seeing things like that. Winter's Descent, Jerry Mulligan and Julia Mulligan doing the Twist of Fate. I love to see, and even you are your artist self, and then you have all of these other portions of you to push others. I love whenever I see people that are able to not only push themselves, but bring others with them.
The good ones try to.
That's what it's all about.
And you do that, I do that, and it's great to, be a part of that, to use. And that's why I always told a lot of people is, unfortunately, sometimes the scene can be cutthroat where artists don't want to help another artist because they feel for some reason if I do that, then I'm stifling my chances of growing and heightening theirs. And I never looked at it like that. I looked at it completely opposite, where I'm like, if I'm secure in myself and my artistry, and I know that I'm great at what I do, why would I ever fear another man's success? Why wouldn't I help with that? If they grow and get bigger than me, then hey, that's awesome and they deserved it. But why wouldn't I take the gifts that I've built for myself and that I've been given and share them with others and help them get there? Because I never feared another man's success. I always felt if you do, it kind of makes you a little bit of a petty person to me. I mean, I've never feared that. So that's what people all the time say, man, you really help a lot of other artists. Don't why don't you just, kind of keep those secrets to yourself or do that? And I'm like, why would I? Why wouldn't I want to see other great music? If I believe in you, I'm not just helping everyone, but if I believe you are a great-minded person, have a great personality and a great art to push, why would I not want the world to hear it or see it?
That is so true. I wish more people understood that. And for some of us, it gives us the chance of a lifetime almost.
I agree.
I don't know if you have heard of Chip and the Charge Ups there. Sorry, I couldn't say it right for a moment.
I don't believe so.
Okay, so Chip Demonic was a musician who had to take a step back from the scene for a little bit for personal family reasons. And whenever he came back to the scene, one thing he's been doing is gathering up artists to work with. And they just put out It's Black and Gold Christmas, and it's more like rock pop kind of stuff.
Oh, you know what? I think I did see that.
Okay, and with A Common Crown.
Yes, I did actually see that.
Okay, so he's done that, and I get to actually say that I have been recorded and played on the radio because I sang in the backup vocals on his song Front Row.
Okay.
So it's a very cool experience for all of us involved whenever people will bring us in. I can sing. He didn't just, he didn't auto-tune me, I swear. I really can sing, but it's not something I ever thought I'd get to do, and it was one of the coolest experiences of my life to be able to be in that. That's great that you got to
experience it, though. That's great.
And he had so many people that he's done this with. He loves to bring others into what he's doing, and he makes you really feel like a part of his group. And that, just getting into the negative of what you hear in the scene, people talk about cliques and they talk about people only working with certain people and everything like that. But whenever you find this many people that are willing to help push others and connect with others, and even for me, I can't tell you how often I hear people ask me why I help other people learn photography.
It stunts people. People don't understand that concept. Why would you want to help others? And I'm like, I don't understand that train of thought. Why wouldn't I want to? Weren't we all supposed to be raised as children to want to help other people unless they give you a reason not to, rather than why would you want to help people? It is just such a backwards thing. Is like, I will help you unless for some reason you give me a reason not to, not I won't help people unless they give me a reason to help them. I don't understand where somewhere along the way someone flipped the circuits on everybody. But there's still a few good people out there that want to help people in the scene, and you just got to find those people. So if you're a musician out there and you're saying, you know what, everybody tries to hold me down, no one wants to give me opportunities, you need to find different people that will. If you're traveling down paths that don't seem to get you where you need to go, then pick a different path.
Right. And there's honestly a lot more people that are helping than others realize. I mean, just look at the examples we've brought up. I Losing September brought 4 bands, I believe it was, from Pittsburgh to a huge festival in Indiana.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Through that, they've helped connect other bands together. I mean, I have helped to promote bands that I met during that weekend. Jerry, Julia, and Jason, there's Winter's Descent and Silence Follows. They're together trying to help other bands get the shows that they would want for themselves. You know what I mean? They're tired of the poorly done stuff. They're tired of walking away with hardly any money in their pocket themselves. They know the kind of shows that musicians want, and they're grabbing musicians from wherever they can get them and giving them this opportunity. The Crowning, Micah with his festival. It's there are so many people. So if you're finding yourself surrounded by people who keep saying there's too many cliques in the scene, and that's why we're not getting ahead. Well, we're not getting ahead because nobody comes to us. Well, we're not. walk away from that group for just long enough to go look around outside of it, because I'm going to bet you that you just need outside of that wall to find these amazing people who will help push you.
Agreed, because if you live your life trapped inside that wall and think that what's within the wall is the greatest out there, but you've never traveled outside of it, you just might be surprised that once you walk outside, it's just as nice on the outside, if not even nicer.
Absolutely. And that is one thing that I've been very blessed with doing with First Angel, is that while we are Pittsburgh-based, we work with artists from all over. France, UK, Germany, Russia. I mean, we've worked with artists from everywhere. And we're not afraid to, because, you know, we want to get people from Pittsburgh outside of that wall and out to others. And the more that we promote the bands from everywhere, the more people all over can find them. You know, we have a larger area of people in Pittsburgh on our Facebook group. And we have a larger, we actually have a group called The Movement. So, and I have that open because I don't believe in closed groups. I don't think it helps anybody.
Yeah,
So
not unless it has some type of specific purpose, like this is a closed group for the 10 of us to talk over plans for a project. But yeah, if it's a music group and you have it closed and it's supposed to be like a networking group, it really defeats the purpose to close it. And I see people do that, like you have to join our special, you know, clique, and you must wear the robes to be able to join. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna pass. All right, I'm good on joining your weird cult.
So if you are an artist looking for a place to promote a show, it's called The Movement Pittsburgh. If you are a fan of music and you just want to see what might be going on, go there. You don't have to join the group. You can just see what everyone's posting, see what everyone's up to. Sometimes people just put in, like, you know, them playing guitar at home. It's kind of a nice laid back way of finding out about some of the music there. We also do have a larger portion of people on our Facebook page, and they're from, you know, the larger portion is in Pittsburgh. But whenever you hit our website, especially, we literally are everywhere. There pretty much isn't anywhere that we haven't hit at least a little bit.
You guys did very good this past year on that. I believe upwards of almost a million hits on that site, I believe. Yes. And what is amazing is last year we finished with 250,000, and I said, well, we're going to try to double that. And with the work of an amazing team, I mean, I have the most amazing team. They truly are my family. We've surpassed anything that we could have dreamed of as far as the reach on our website. It was collectively over 1 million. And I say collectively because we had to change platforms. Okay.
Whatever the thingy is that holds your website. The thingy.
The domain.
The domain, yes. We switched over servers.
Okay, servers. I gotcha.
They had to upgrade us because of traffic, and so whenever they had to upgrade us, then they kind of started the recount over again. But so collectively, between, you know, before the move and after, we hit over 1 million. It's normal for us to reach 75,000 people a month on Facebook. And that's steadily growing. And I love seeing what we've done because 99% of it has been, well, 95% of it has been organic. Because we have impressive. We have some of the most amazing music fans that follow our page. I don't know any of them really by name, but I can tell you that there are people on there who comment constantly, who will share our stuff. They really love music.
Music is the universal language from the soul. It doesn't matter what race, what background, what language you speak on an everyday basis. Music is the universal language of the soul, and you guys have given a central hub for people all over to come and enjoy great bands and great music, and that's admirable.
It's music is an emotional connection, and I'll tell you, it has gotten me through my life. I didn't have the best childhood growing up. My teenage years, I was one of those people that started life pretty rough. And knowing that there was somebody who had gone before me through these dark times and come out of it, sometimes music is a testament to you can get through it. I mean, it is an emotional vibe. You know, I lost my husband, and yet there are songs out there from people who have lost their loves. There are people out there who maybe it's not even about a lost love, but finding their way through darkness and finally coming through. You know, sometimes music just lifts you up whenever you can't. Sometimes you put on, you know, Come With Me Now. What is that? The Congos, I think it is. It's just an upbeat, hip little song. It's a little ditty. And you can't help but dance whenever you listen to it. And sometimes you need to be the badass. And you put on, you know, Hollywood Undead. And so there's
no right or wrong. It all touches different heartstrings.
Very much so. And there's a beauty in it, even whenever it's dark, even whenever it's painful. There is a beauty, and it lifts you up. And whenever I started First Angel, I wanted to give back to the one thing that has been my constant in my life, the one thing that has always helped save me. And, you know, here I am years later, and it still continues to save me. It still continues to bring me on new pathways. I've told you before, I now cover national acts. I mean, I get paid thousands to go sometimes to festivals and cover them. I have this beautiful life of photography, this beautiful way of, you know, living my life, making my art and living on some of my art. And I never even picked up a camera before. I never had a camera before. I wanted to learn how to show people what I saw on the stage.
That's great, though. You can take what you see and you can learn to capture that and present it to someone in a different form and let them feel the feelings that you felt when you were watching it. That's great.
That is one of my favorite things to do. I mean, I am a writer. I do write. Now I let people like Patrick of Nine Stitch Method. I let people like Erica of Working Breed. Darren Lewis. He's not of a band, but my God, the man is just an amazing writer, especially for like Doom. I let these people tell the stories in writing, while me and Amanda and Craig and, you know, Fernando's out there with his videography. Arena just joined us while we're out there showing our art through the photos, and all of us combined. And as much as we feel this in our soul, I think that if there's a recipe for success, it's that passion that we have for it. It's also waking up at 6 a.m. and, you know, immediately answering emails. But
as we talked about earlier, yes, it certainly is. It's about staying on top of your game and living it and constantly keeping up with the everyday small things, because all the big projects that you release and all the things that the fans are going to resonate with do mean a lot. But behind that, there is always a million tiny items that we
Yes.
have to work on and keep up to date. So it's always an important thing. Now, why don't you tell us, we'll get wrapping up here in a minute, but I wanted you, before we do, to tell us all of the services as a company that you offer to artists out there. So if there's an artist listening and saying, wow, I sound like I could really captivate on some great promotion, why don't you say the different things that you offer out there that they can look forward to, and then also let us know where we can find all of your guys' websites and where to search you up at, and who you would like to thank.
Well, we are about to be setting a area into our contact section, which will also list all of our services because they have grown vastly. We offer, in our areas that we have coverage for photography, we offer professional concert photography. We also offer promotional photos. People need those for EPKs, for putting out, art on flyers, on CDs. We offer all of that. We have a graphic designer who does logos. She also can do T-shirts, and anything that you need in the graphic design category. We offer a videographer, Fernando. He has a company, Ambriette Creations, but he works through us as well. And he can do what he calls recap videos, which is generally a single song's worth of a recap of your show with your music playing over to give like the best promotional video possible, as well as he does music videos. Let's see here. We offer articles, interviews, music, and show reviews. We offer the Find Your Muse category for video. We have a look at the lyrics on Thursdays, which gives the artists that don't have a video a chance to give us the lyrics from one of your songs and the reason behind them. Normally there's such a message behind songs, and it's a chance to really kind of get behind the meaning of the words. We have started to do, it's a new thing in 2020, we're actually doing real news, including how to help socials for your Facebook and everything like that. Friends joke around, I'm the Facebook guru. And I just put out the article. All you have to do is read it. I give links in it to places where you can get better ideas on what you're doing for ads, page reach, how to help drive to your website. And we have, Bill actually can set up a website for you if you need one. We keep all of our services at a very decent price because we know that none of us are making money hand over fist. And I should also mention our articles and features are completely free. We do also offer ad services. If it's music industry related, we can put it out on Facebook. We have sections on our website for ads. We have podcasts that go out. We're pretty much a full service media company.
Well, sure sounds like it. So you're hearing it right here, folks. If you are in the industry of music and entertainment and you are looking for opportunities to get your music heard, seen, read about, and great things for your electronic press kits, you don't need to look all over the place for different services. You have a one-stop shop for everything that you need at First Angel Media. So make sure you check them out, like their pages, follow their pages, message them, find out about their rates on certain things if you're inquiring, find out about how you get a write-up on your album, on your music video, on your lyrics, anything that they just talked about or she just talked about. Please reach out to Jana about and see what you can captivate on to help, grow your business, your artistry, and your music. And with that being said, Jana, why don't you tell us where we can find your pages at? Currently,
we're active, obviously, on our website. We are active on Facebook. We are active on Instagram. We do have a Twitter account that we're going to start getting more active on. We wanted to make certain that we had our platform straight before we keep moving on to the next one. And if you want to find out if we're on a platform, everything is under First Angel Media. We've kept it very simple for you. All you have to do is search First Angel Media, Google us, Twitter us, whatever you need there. First Angel Media, and you'll know if we're there for you.
Well, perfect. Nice, simple, and easy. We like it. So you heard it, folks. Make sure you search First Angel Media and click on the links, follow the links, share them around, and contact them today. We'll say tomorrow, because it'll be late by the time you guys hear this. But tomorrow, contact them about what you guys can work out together. Be looking for a lot more in the partnership of Brutal Business Entertainment and First Angel Media. This is the first episode under that new relationship, but there's many, many more to come and many more great things to come, so stay tuned for that. And Jana, why don't you tell us who you want to thank, and then we'll go ahead and give the announcements of our next few shows coming up and go ahead and wrap this up for you.
To be honest, I'd like to thank my team, because none of this would be possible without them. I almost gave it up before they came along, because by the time I knew that it could be this, it felt like I'd never find the right people, and now I have 20 of the most amazing people ever on my team. I would really like to thank my friend Eric from Slide, because he's the one who introduced me to the Pittsburgh music scene. And Jerry and Julia have been amazing friends from the beginning. And growing up with them and Jason, business-wise, has been an incredible experience. And I'd like to thank you, because, it's absolutely wonderful to find someone who believes in this craziness as much as I do, that is willing to put as much, because, God, do I ever know what all of us media people put into what we're doing. And I thank you for doing what you do.
Well, thank
you.
Because,
it takes a team, and we are. I'm really proud to say that your business and my business are truly a team now.
We are truly a team individually and now certainly together, and I think a lot of great things are to come. And as you said, it does take a great team to back you up. And now we have that even more, we'll say tenfold now. So, that's great. I look forward to everything to come. I do want to thank you, obviously, for coming on the show tonight, sharing with us a little bit about your past and what's to come in the future, how you got started, and all the great information of the scene and what you guys do for the scene. So thank you for, obviously being on the show. Now, before we wrap up tonight, folks, did want to go over a couple of the upcoming episodes. You're hearing tonight's show, which I'm going to air on the 7th, which is going to actually be this coming Tuesday, but when you hear it, it'll be Tuesday or after. But make sure you listen to the show in its entirety. If you're jumping in halfway through it or anything like that, you can always go back to the beginning. Make sure you check out our past episodes as well. But we do have also Brian Genovese, who's about to release his brand new album later this week. He's going to be on the show on the 8th. We have underground hardcore, horrorcore rap legend, Insane Poetry. Very excited to bring him on the show. He is one of the godfathers of underground horrorcore and hardcore rap. It's an honor to have him on the show. We have also, we got Rob Trey on the 16th, Isolated Beings on the 23rd, Angelic Desolation, an absolutely amazing death metal band from Colorado, on the 22nd, and Mantra of Morta, a great metal band from Indiana State, on the 30th. We will also be bringing you episodes of Celestial Oddities Oddworld on the 6th and 20th, and Celestial Oddities Pair of Normal Guys podcast on the 15th, with very big special news coming up with who our special guest will be on that show. a legend in the underground paranormal community, and we'll be announcing more on that soon. So make sure you tune into all the media that we're bringing you. Make sure you check out everything that we release here at Brutal Business, and you can keep track of that at www.teambrutalbusiness.com, and make sure you check out everything at First Angel Media. We want to wish you guys a wonderful rest of your evening, and have a safe rest of your week. Jana, thank you for coming on the show tonight, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for having me. Oh, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, guys, you heard it here. We appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time on Uncovering the Underground.